It's time to upgrade. Oh yeah. Hello everyone, you've probably seen all the videos with Matunga with the city reaction and the Phantom V3 reaction. We asked him to bring his Phantom V2 to our shop to upgrade it to a V3 Ludo controller. Now let's get into it. The first step is to open the deck. For this you'll only need a 3mm Allen key, but you know Matunga is a bit fancy, so he put some flathead screwdriver, so that's why I'm going to be using this. So now the next step is to take out the battery. Then a little bit of water. Matunga, you know that you shouldn't be writing in water. So now I'm just gonna disconnect it. Disconnect the charging port and the second discharge cable. And I'm gonna take the battery out. All right, so now we only have the controllers. We're gonna be disconnecting them. And the main difference with the V3 is that the box light is now integrated inside the controller. So we're gonna be disconnecting all the connectors and connecting it directly to the new controller. So you might notice all the yellow tags here. That's just Matunga being kind enough to tag all his wires. He's special and we like it. So you are basically saving all this space now. Now the box light is completely removed. I'm gonna start disconnecting the connectors of the actual controllers. So here we have the front controller, disconnecting the throttle signals, the motor phase wires, and that's pretty much it. Now we have the rear controller, a bit more wires, but it's still super simple to do. All right. I'm always starting with the motor phase wire as well. Doesn't matter after that if you connect the front one to either side of the new controller. So the first thing I'm connecting on the new controller is the brake cable, and also what's going to serve as a power button. So the second connector I'm going to connect, it's going to be for the display. It's the COM cable. So I'm going to disconnect the old one here, and I'm just going to reconnect it here. That's it. Now the rear controller is completely free. Before we plug the rest of the connectors, we're going to do Matunga's a little favor and clean the inside of the deck. I'm going to connect the rear light, then I'm going to connect the right turning signal, which should be this one, and you can notice that the color of the connectors, which is kind of yellow in this one, fit with the wires here, and it's the same thing for this one. The connector is green, they put the wire green, try to make it a bit easier for all of you that's going to install the V3 kit. Then I'm going to connect the left light, like this, then I'm going to connect the other right light, and lastly, the last left light, and voila. We only have the front headlight to connect now. There you go. And that should be it. Lastly, I'm going to be connecting the motor phase wires. Again, it's not important if you connect the front motor on this side or this side. It doesn't matter. Connecting like this, connecting now the rear motor. Like this, and we only gonna have the battery to connect. So I'm gonna move the controller to the front, make the wire all clean and neat, and place the battery at the back, install the display, the on-off switch, and then plug the battery. On the official V3 scooter, the controller is going to be fixed to the frame with a heatsink under it. On the V2, of course, it's not fixed, so I'm going to be adding a thermal pad under the controller, but we recommend adding thermal paste instead. After all the wiring is done, we're going to move to the top and we're going to replace the display and the throttle. There we go. So now the next step is to remove the throttle, the mode button, and also the light button. Now the throttle. And lastly, the mode button. Then I go to the other side. I'm gonna remove the handle once again. Then the brake handle. And to slide it off, you might notice that it's not long enough, so you can pull a little bit on the cable, of the brake cable, to give you some slack. All right. And lastly, the light button. You have an easy plug connector for this one, so it should be pretty easy. There you go. So now the whole handlebar is free and look beautiful. So we're gonna be putting the regen throttle, the acceleration throttle, the display, and that's it. So the first throttle that we're gonna put is the regen one. You can know it's the regen one because it's pointing towards the left. It's that easy. Then I'm gonna put the right one. You know it's the right one because it's pointing towards the right as well. So there you go. I'm just gonna keep them loose for now because I'm not sure how far I want them, because you want to put the grip handle before and the brake handle as well, just to gauge like should it be more towards the end or more towards the inside. So now the throttle are installed. The last thing is gonna be the display. So there you go. This is a V3 display. It looks scratched, but it's really just because of the film over it that we're gonna remove at the end. You can see that there's some plug and play connectors at the back, and we identified one with a label, and it's called throttle. The reason is that it's identical to the power line, and you don't want to mix them up. So when you connect it, just make sure that the throttle one, which is this one with the power button, go on the one with the label that is called throttle as well. So as you can see, the bracket is also the same, so it's super convenient. You can just pop on the display, screw the same screws, and voila. The things you also want to do is pass all the wires behind the handlebar to hide them like this. It's going to be cleaner. All right, so here I'm just aligning both holes. I'm going to put my screw back. Usually I like to align the display really facing up like this to get the less amount of reflection possible. Now I'm going to tighten both screws. On the final one, the bracket's going to be black as well. It won't be aluminum like this. This is a special edition just for Matunga. So now I'm going to connect the throttle, both of them, and the display, just to make sure the wires are the correct length. So I'm going to start with the display, also called the COM cable. So now again, I'm going to align the arrows with the other arrows. I'm just going to connect the display first, like this. You're gonna see it's pretty tight, but it should be long enough. If it's not, you can pull on this cable a little bit. Then I'm gonna connect the wires that say throttle on the accelerator side, which is this one. Again, you want to align both arrows. And lastly, the last remaining one's gonna be the regen throttle. I like this. And this is basically the cable management of the scooter. It's super clean, all plug and play. If anything breaks, you can replace it at any time. Now the next step is to put the brake handles back and then the handle grip. So I put the left brake handle, and note that I put it after the throttle. This is what you want to do to get the maximum comfort, because we designed the throttle to go over the bracket of the brake handle. Then I'm gonna put the right one, like this. I'm then gonna tighten the handlebar, just so it stops moving. Then I'm gonna install the light cover back. So now the light cover is installed, we're gonna install the handle grip. So some of you might have noticed that I removed the light button, so we actually have the free connectors now. You have two options. You either put a zip tie and just leave it like this, it's completely fine, or you can also cut it. Just make sure the battery is unplugged when you do this. Just gonna cut it right here, and voila. So now I'm gonna install the handle grip back on, like this. And this is why I like to keep everything loose, so if it's more on the outside, I can push them back to really align everything. So that's why it's important to keep your brake handle loose, the throttle loose, until you install the handle grip. So now that everything is installed, I can now start to tighten everything. Right, so I'm gonna start with the right brake handle, and then the right throttle. There's no need to over tighten the throttle. They are pretty strong, but still it's plastic, so just make sure it's not moving when you press it, and it should be fine. Then I'm gonna do the left brake handle. Gonna try to match the inclination of the other one, just so it's equal. And lastly, the left throttle, which is also called the regen throttle. You also want to make sure that nothing is touching the outside of the throttle. You can see in that example, the bell is in the way, and if I press it, it's not retracting. So I need to move the bell away to be sure it's safe. So let's move the bell. So now everything is tight and installed. I'm gonna put back the wrapping that Matunga loves so much, and then we're gonna plug the battery. All right, so we are almost done. The last step is to install the battery, run the motor detection, and put back the deck, and that's it. So now I'm gonna connect the charging port, first one, the second one, and lastly, the power cable. So you might notice that the connector is quite different from the old one. It's much bigger, and now there's only one that you can connect. Before there was two outputs, so we're gonna be providing an adapter to connect your old battery to the new port. I'm gonna connect it. So now for the last step, you need to be very careful and make sure you are doing it. We're gonna do the motor detection, so you need two things. You need to make sure the motors are not touching the ground. In our case, we are on a bench, so they can spin freely. And when you're gonna turn on the scooter for the first time, you need to press 10 times on the power button as fast as you can. Then the scooter is gonna make a really weird noise, but that's totally fine. The front wheel is gonna start spinning on its own, and then the back. And when it's gonna be done with the motor detection, it's gonna turn off. Then you can turn it back on, and everything should be working smoothly. So here we go. You can really hear the humming noise. It's going to start at low rev and then go higher. Yeah, exactly like this. It's just really important that it's not touching the ground. It's not rubbing on the brake. If it's rubbing just a little bit, that's fine. Don't go removing your caliper for this. That's the sound. It's totally fine. And what it's trying to do when it's doing this, it's trying to find the motor position, basically. So it knows that it's a 10-inch motor, like it's doing all kind of measurement like this. And it's because we are doing this for every single unit coming out of the factory that we are able to get a much smoother response than before. Because before we were configuring the controller inside the controller factory, just shipping it to the scooter factory, they were plugging it and that's it. So it was not precisely configured to the motors because they're all a little bit different. But now we can really tune your scooter down to the exact motor that it has on. That is making a world of difference. So you just heard the beep, and that it's because it turned off. So now everything should be fine. So I'm gonna turn it back on. No error code, I like seeing that. I'm gonna try the accelerator. It might be in kick to start though. Yeah, so it's in kick to start as a safety measure. You can remove it through the app because now you have the app. Yoo-hoo! What you can do, just to make sure it's working, you can spin the tire. The rear one is working. Gonna try the front one as well. They're both working super smoothly. It's rubbing on his caliper, I believe. Gonna test the regen as well. Yeah, it's working fine. So now I'm gonna make sure that all the lights are working properly, that I connected them to the proper connectors. So to turn on the front headlight, you just need to press once on the power button. It's working great, and I see it on the display here. I'm gonna try the left turn signal. It's working. Won't lie, I'm quite surprised. And then I'm gonna try the right one. Beautiful, it's all working. The last one is the brake light on the footrest. So this one can be activated by either pressing the brake handle or also the regen. So, beautiful, it's working. So all my lights were connected properly. So again, when you disconnect one, make sure to reconnect it right away to the new controller. So if you do one by one like this, you're gonna make sure to not mess it up. So pretty much everything is done. I'm gonna install the deck back on and we're gonna go for a ride. For the deck, when you screw it on, you always want to do a star pattern just to make sure it's pressing equally. The deck of the Phantom is quite tight, so sometimes if you just tighten the front, the rear won't fit. All right, so we added an extra gasket, so we needed longer screws. So we're gonna put them just for now as a placeholder. But you know Matunga is gonna put some aerospace grade screws after, so this is just temporary. All right, so now everything is finished. It's time to try it. Turn it on. We're gonna also peel the plastic on the display. ASMR. Look at this. Directly in noodle mode. We're not kidding here. Wish me luck. All right, so let's try it in noodle mode. There's a kick to start. I need to kick stronger. It's incredible. So I'm gonna show you two things. I'm gonna show you the acceleration to see how quiet it is, and also just braking with the regen so you can see the actual braking distance. Keep in mind right now the regen's about at 50% strain, so it's just to give you an idea. And also you can see the battery it's basically empty now. We need to charge it. So first of all, here the quiet noise, completely silent. Okay, and then the regen. Voila. All right, guys, so that's it. Today you saw a Phantom V1 that was turned into a V2 and then a V3. So it's pretty incredible, and I'm super happy with the result. It's quiet, the regen feels phenomenal. We're gonna charge it tonight and tomorrow go for a longer ride with Matunga. So that's what you can expect regarding the installing an upgrade kit on your Phantom V2 or even V1. This is not the official installation video. We're gonna make another video with Luc, who's way better than me, and he's gonna take you step by step to show you how to install it on your scooter. That there's gonna be a ton of text to help you, so don't worry. So stay tuned.